Hey everyone, today's video I'm going to talk about three things. The first is our new HCT. The second is two major new road trips that we have planned. And the third is why I've been away from the channel for so long. But first, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Jennifer Preston. My husband Michael and I are the OG of Happier Camper owners, and the channel is really all about helping people understand what these rigs are all about, as well as if you're a first-time camper, as we were when we bought our first HC1, help maybe give you the inspiration to get on the road. So let's get to it. Okay, I'm going to start with the hardest part, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I know I have been away for a long time. And it's not because we got rid of our camper or anything crazy like that. It is, when I'm recording this now, it is, April of 2024. I can't believe it. But our oldest son passed away in December of 2022. Very unexpectedly. It was an accident. As you can tell, it's still an emotional topic. I think it always will be. But yeah, this past year has been about learning how to live with grief, and I did not feel at all inspired to either camp or talk about camping. And if you know anything about Mike and I, it's that there's no fabrication for anything that we do on this channel. It just would have felt really disingenuous to try to force ourselves to create content that we were not ready to create. I can say with great pleasure that I'm excited about these upcoming trips we have, about our new HCT, and we want to share that with folks because I have received so much positive feedback from people since we started this channel on just thanking us for, helping them learn about these rigs. Happier Campers are really cool, and there's a lot more of them now than when we bought our first rig in 2016. We had number 44 for the HC1s, and I don't think for a long time they actually numbered them. I think they've stopped that now, but yeah, we are super excited for some of the things that are coming up. But I'll also share with you that I have a very different background. And that's because we do not live in Providence, Rhode Island anymore. That big purple house that we lived in that was so beautiful. But it had a driveway. That was wonderful. We don't have a driveway anymore, which means we are storing our HCT. So that's going to be another video about what that's all about. But yeah, we live in the French Quarter in Louisiana. We're like the world's luckiest people. This is a fantastic place to be. I actually think I'm going to create a channel that is all about what it's like to live in the French Quarter. But yeah, let's get back to camping topics, and I'm going to talk about why we have a new HCT and what these two big trips are that are coming up. Thought I would give you a slightly different background now that I've told you that we live in New Orleans, and we live in this old Creole cottage. It's so beautiful. I suspect that some of the backgrounds of my videos are actually going to be more interesting than me talking, because it's such a beautiful place. But yeah, we're in New Orleans, so maybe, you should have a bar in the back. So let's talk about the HCT, and yeah, I'm so excited. So we got a really early production run of the HCTs, and they have been doing some upgrades and improving them over time, and we just wanted to have the latest and greatest. So we work with Happier Camper, and they have provided us with our new HCT. We got delivery, I guess it's a couple of months ago now. And as I mentioned, we don't have a driveway here. If I could change one thing about living here in the French Quarter, it would be that we had a parking space. But there were houses like that, but they didn't have the other pieces that we wanted, in particular the courtyard. I'll have to take you guys out there sometime and show it to you. Put comments below if you'd like to see our courtyard, because I think it's pretty special. But yeah, so we arranged for parking in like an RV storage type place. It's not very far; it's just over the river. And yeah, so we have the new HCT. We have the same tow vehicle. So if you know the history here, or if you don't know the history, I'll give you like just a quick background. When we bought our HC1, we had never towed before. We had never camped before. The rigs are made in California, and Michael drove our Fiat 500X. This is a video I should do because I have all these great pictures from this trip. But he drove the Fiat 500X from Quincy, Massachusetts, where we lived at that time, cross country to LA. I flew in. He picked me up. Then he had already picked up the rig, and the next morning at like 4 a.m. It was ridiculous how early we left. We were just so excited. We started on a bucket list 50-year birthday celebration road trip where we pulled the HC1 cross country. And yeah, we had the most amazing experience. And people always think we're lying, candidly, when we say that we pulled the HC1 with our Fiat, but we did. It was fantastic. I mean, those rigs empty, I think, are 1,100 pounds. And even fully kitted out, they're about 1,400 pounds. Most cars have a tow capacity of 2,000. And so while certainly I'm sure the Fiat user manual says you don't tow with those, we towed our HC1 for years with that Fiat 500X. It was great. In fact, we actually pulled it up the Cabot Trail in Nova Scotia, which is very, very steep. And yeah, so I think it was at that point we were like, you know what, this poor little car is working real hard on these really steep inclines. We want to go off road a little bit more. So maybe it's time to upgrade the car's power. I had a long commute at the time. I wanted a flashier car. So we were like, well, what's a nice car that has good power, that I'll enjoy driving to work, that, I don't know, ticks all the boxes. So we got a Porsche Macan. And so we towed the HC1 with the Porsche Macan, and we also, our first HCT, we were towing that with the Porsche. We did an off-road boondocking trip that included being out in the desert, out in Big Bend. And let me tell you guys, pulling a camper with a Porsche, if you're on paved roads or even dirt roads would have been fine. You don't want to boondock with a car with low clearance. So we decided, okay, we're going to upgrade, and we got the Land Rover, which we love. And, you know, I actually didn't care all that much about what kind of car we got, but Michael grew up in Solihull in England, and that's the headquarters for Land Rover. And so that was the driver for why we got that vehicle. And I love it. It is a great car. Truck. I think I'm supposed to call it a truck. So yeah, so we are now pulling with our existing tow vehicle, our new HCT. And I guess the reason I bring this up is because if you are listening to this because you're thinking, oh, do I want to get one of these campers? Well, you do, but you do need to be really thoughtful about your tow vehicle. So if you have a Fiat, you can't get an HCT. I think fully loaded, they're probably around 2,400 pounds. That's probably going to exceed your tow capacity on a Fiat, but you certainly can pull an HC1. And what you don't want to do is buy a rig only to discover that you need a new tow vehicle. That would be lousy. So yeah, so let's talk about these trips, and maybe I'll move to another room in the house. Just so you can get the vibe of our new place. Life is different for us now, and I guess doing these videos again includes sharing some of that with you all. Hopefully you find it interesting. So let's go find another spot to do this from. Okay, it's a little bit dark in here today, but I was going to open the shutters, but I'll show you what over there. But it's super windy, and I don't have the right latchy things outside the house. Before I go any further, make sure you like and subscribe. Love to have you back on the channel and learning all about happier campers, and we'll share our experiences with you. But let me talk to you about these two big upcoming trips. Super excited about this. Um, One of the advantages of living in Louisiana is we're already halfway across the country, and we love to do camping more in, let's just call it like the American Southwest, or a place where there's more BLM land, which is the Bureau of Land Management, so we can do more boondocking. These trips have nothing to do with the kind of geographic advantage we have now of being where we are. Like, for example, when we did our last really big road trip, we wanted to camp in New Mexico and we wanted to go to Big Bend. And so we had this whole thing planned out, but we lived in Providence, Rhode Island. We had to spend 3 long days getting to, a point where we were almost in New Mexico, where we could kind of start the camping. Because when you're doing trips like that, those 3 days on the road, you're not camping. You're sleeping in the camper at night to get to the destination where you can start camping, if that makes sense. So, the background to these trips is that Michael is or has some work that he needs to do up in Edmonton, Canada, in the middle of June. There's football stuff going on up there, and he needs to be at those tournaments. So I said to him, why don't we take the camper and we will drive a huge camping trip up to Edmonton and then come back? It'll be amazing. And that was a hard no. For a really good reason. So, I mean, it's not like Michael just pops in, shows up on the day of, and, he starts working. He has a lot of prep work that he has to do in advance of any kind of tournament. Hi, Rose. Hold on, Mr. Rose. Here. I'll say hi. Oh, good girl. This is Miss Rose. She needs a bath, but she's our little Westie. She's an old girl now. She's 14. You sit here, okay? She sticks right by me. She's my little, you're my little girl. So yeah, he can't just show up. He has a lot of work to do in advance. And while he could probably try to figure out some way to make it work, he would be really stressed out in the lead up if we were on the road and getting to the event. So yeah, that makes no sense. But it doesn't mean I can't do that. So I thought a lot about this because I wasn't sure if I was really prepared to do a trip like this by myself. It's a big one, right? I mean, we're in Louisiana. You can't get much more southerly than where we're at into Canada. So I thought about it. Now, I do have 2 people who may or may not join me for some of the trip. And so our son Liam might be able to join for some of it. And my best friend from middle school, who is still my best friend, Ellen, she might be able to come for some of it. And that kind of surprised me because she is working, but I think something's happening around her work situation where it's changing. So that's actually something that's also changed in our lives that I'll mention. I worked for a company that decided at the end of 2023 to offer an early retirement option for people over 55 who had been there for 10 years or more. I'm 57, and I had been with the company for 13 years, so I raised my hand and I said, yeah, I think this would be good for me. And it means that for all of 2024, I don't have to work, which is amazing. And, we'll see what happens in 2025. I can't even believe I'm saying these years. Like, how could it possibly be 2024 already? And I'm thinking about 25. But yeah, so I don't really know what my future is going to look like, but I do know that I have the ability to take long road trips in 24. But we're trying to balance that off against the idea that this is our first full year living in New Orleans, and this is such an amazing place to be. Back to the trips. So Liam might come, Ellen might come. But if neither of them come, I'm still going to do this on my own because I can. And I'm probably going to do a couple of different videos. And please put some comments below about what you'd like to hear about this. I do see a lot of people ask questions about well, how do you even prepare for a trip like that? What's your process? So I'll talk about my process. But then there's like considerations around safety, which I think always come up. I gotta tell you, we've been camping since 2016. We have never had an issue with safety. Knock on wood. And hopefully we never ever will, but it doesn't mean you can't be smart about the way you go about your planning. So yeah, let me know if there's something you're really interested in, and I'll try to make sure I cover that. Yeah, so I'm going to take the camper. I'm going to leave a week or two before Mike even leaves the house, and I'm going to drive up to Edmonton. And the day before or thereabouts, before Michael leaves, our good friend Katie is going to fly into New Orleans, and she used to take care of the dogs when we lived up in the Northeast. And yeah, she's in a particular situation where it makes great sense for her to come down, and yeah, she'll come down. She'll stay here. It's going to be like a month, and she'll take care of the dogs, and she'll live in New Orleans, and she will experience all the things that are wonderful about this place. So it's a great thing for all of us. Now, after the tournament on that Monday, I think the championship game is on a Sunday. On the Monday, Mike and I will start our trip, which is going to be a big boondocking type effort coming down from Edmonton back to New Orleans. I want to take a different route, so the planning will have different kind of requirements, if you will. And I'm going to put in to my planning trying to do the Utah Big Five. I don't know if that's realistic. I'm also aware that we would be in Utah in July, which sounds hot. And one of the mistakes we've made is we did not have AC put into the rig. So now I got to look at buying some kind of portable AC unit. If you are using a portable AC unit that you think would be good for us for camping, please put that in the comments below so I can research it. We've got to figure out a good option on this because nobody likes being miserably hot, but Michael in particular is very sensitive to heat. It's his English temperament, I guess. He doesn't care for the heat. Why do we live in New Orleans, you would ask? But yeah, so I need to figure out the AC, and I think I'm just hoping that my son will come on this trip. So I bought Starlink. Yeah, that's going to arrive in a couple of weeks. So I'll take you through that when that comes. But Liam works for a startup right now. He needs to be connected a lot. And I don't know if he can take vacation time, but I would take a slower trip that let him be online doing work more, if that meant that he could come. I think that would be amazing. So anyway, we have lots of cool things to share with you in the coming months. I'm excited. I want to share all that with you. So like and subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified and all the things. And if you have anything you want me to cover off on related to either Happier Campers specifically or, little bug. Happier Campers specifically or camping in general or trip planning, just put it in the comments below and I will read them and I will try to create some content to help you. So thank you very much for watching the channel. Thank you for all your good thoughts. I guess I would tell you that when difficult things happen in life, it's hard to find the feeling of gratitude. I didn't plan to say this, but I'm going to say this anyway. It's hard to be grateful. But I would tell you that we have so much to be grateful for, even amidst all the grief. And, all the good thoughts that y'all have sent to us have been a big part of that. So thank you. And let's go camping.